Hi guys, this is a video tutorial for NeutrinoParticles editor, and in this tutorial I will show you how to create such simple fireball effect. You can then attach this effect to the moving object in your game, and it will be consistent independently on object's speed, and simple and beautiful. It has very simple cloud texture, only one texture, and it is more like template for effect, so you can change it, you can vary it, this effect by changing a texture to correspond design of your game. It can be cartoon style or more natural style, so I will show you how to create this template. Okay, let's start from the new particle system. I work in virtual machine, so I have some glitches in user interface. Actually, I run this virtual machine inside Ubuntu Linux, so this is an option for Linux to start the editor. Another one option is Wine. The editor works pretty good under Wine. The graphical user interface will not be so beautiful, but it is still will be usable, and it will work pretty good. So I started from default particle system. Let me change texture. I will choose cloud texture, smoke. It calls smoke. No, it's not the texture I wanted. Smoke. Oh, this one. Okay. Now we have particles that are generated at a single point. It's okay for us for this effect, and let's make some physics. I changing position mode to motion with forces. By default it has force attracting particles down, like gravity. You can see a list of forces: air resistance, and only one directed force looking at 100 by y-axis, so it will look down. I'll make it look up and a little bit stronger. So now we'll change air resistance. The particles now have no resistance at all. It's like a vacuum. I'll make it 1. Okay. Let's change starting size of particles from 30 to 60. Yep. And number of particles. We have periodic generation with rate 5 particles per second. I will change it to 60 particles per second. So we have something like white smoke. Let's change transparency. By default it is fixed value equal to 1, so all particles are opaque, not transparent at all. So I'll change type of transparency to over particle life, and the graph will change transparency only will reduce transparency only at the end of particles life. So particles are fully opaque, and then they fade out to 0. Okay, let's change the color now. By default, you can see it is white color, RGB equal to 1. I'll change it also to over particle life. So our particle life will be from 0 to 1, and these 3 graphs shows changing of R, G and B component. You can switch on color representation of these graphs, so you will see on this stripe you will see changing of the color. And now let me make it more looking on fire orange at the start, then yellow. Oh, now we need to change sorting of particles. By default you can click on emitter, and by default older particles will be visible first. I'll change these to younger first. So our younger particles which was just created are rendered on top of more older particles. And I will increase number of particles, maximum number of particles from 100 to 200. Okay, now let's continue with color. Yellow color then should be changed to gray, light gray. Oops. Another one glitch. Okay. Now you can see orange change it to yellow, then yellow to light gray. Oh. Light gray light gray then will be changed to dark gray. Yeah, something like that. So now we have only one emitter which generates particles in periodic rate 60 particles per second, and we need to avoid these holes when our object is moving fast. We need consistent effect, so I'll create another emitter that will be a copy of current emitter. Copy, paste. I'll rename it to default emitter dist, and this emitter will generate particles only when emitter is moving. I'll change generation from periodic to from path distance, and each 5 pixels will be too much. I'll make generation each 10 pixels, and Now, when we move our object, then particles are generated more consistently. I also will increase maximum number of particles for this second emitter to 600. And let me show you also separately these two emitters, how these two emitters work. I'll disable first emitter, and now only distance emitter is working. When our object is moving, it generates particles, and when working on the first emitter, it generates particles with a constant rate. And when these emitters are turned on together, we have consistent effect, and it constantly generates particles even when object is staying still. Now let's add some diversity and some randomness, and work with rotation of particles. I'll make starting angle random value from 0 to 360, and changing angle will be steady change with speed, with random speed from -90 to 90, for example. Now you can see particles randomly rotating. Each particle has its own rotation speed accordingly to this random number. You can also add some turbulence in the physics. Now you can see only one directed force applied. You can add force turbulence. By default it has scale 200, I'll make it 400, so it will make bigger influence. Yep. Maybe that's it. We made a template even better than expected in the start of the tutorial. It has also turbulence, so now you can try to make your own, and of course make nicer, more beautiful texture for the particles to correspond to your project, design of your project. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.